I'm your host, BrightLearn, and today we're diving into something that's been making waves across the internet, something that's equal parts shocking, urgent, and absolutely critical for every single one of us to understand. Buckle up, because this is going to be a wild ride. So, let me set the stage for you. Recently, filmmaker JJ Carrell sat down with Mike Adams on Brighton.com to talk about his upcoming documentary, Treason. Now, if you haven't heard about this film yet, let me tell you, it's not your average documentary. It's a gut punch of truth about what's happening to America right now. And I mean right now. We're talking about an invasion, a global reset, and a government that, according to Carrell, is actively working against its own people. Yeah, you heard me right. This isn't some conspiracy theory. This is real, documented, and happening as we speak. Let's start with JJ Carrell's background, because it's important to understand where he's coming from. This guy isn't just some filmmaker with a camera and an opinion. He spent 24 years in the U.S. Border Patrol. That's right, 24 years on the front lines, seeing firsthand what's happening at our borders. His last year, that was Joe Biden's first year in office. And let me tell you, what he saw during that time was enough to make him walk away from his career and start sounding the alarm. He's not just talking about border security. He's talking about an intentional, strategic, and purposeful dismantling of America as we know it. Now, let's get into the meat of this interview because it's jaw-dropping. Carrell talks about how, under Biden, the border has gone from being the most secure it's ever been under Trump to a complete free-for-all. He says that under Trump, they were arresting 500 to 600 illegal aliens a day, and every single one of them was deported. But under Biden, that number skyrocketed to 5,000 to 20,000 arrests per day. And here's the kicker. Most of them are being released into the U.S. That's not a typo. They're being processed and let go. Carrell calls it what it is, treason. But it gets worse. Much worse. Carrell talks about how this isn't just about illegal immigration. This is about a global reset. He says that the goal here is to fundamentally transform America by flooding it with tens of millions of non-citizens who can be controlled. He even goes as far as to say that the government hates its own people. Yeah, you heard that right. He says, your own government hates you. And when you look at what's happening, the open borders, the lack of vetting, the billions of dollars being spent on illegal aliens, it's hard to argue with him. Now, let's talk about the numbers, because they're staggering. Carrell estimates that by the end of Biden's term, 30 million people will have crossed the border illegally. That's 30 million, and that's on the low end. He says there are already 45 to 50 million illegal aliens in the U.S. right now. That means 1 in 6 people living in America is here illegally. Let that sink in for a minute. 1 in 6. And it's not just families looking for a better life. Carrell says 60 to 70% of those crossing are single, military-aged men from countries that hate America. Countries like China, Syria, Iraq, and what he calls all the stans. Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, you name it. And here's where it gets really scary. Carrell talks about how many of these people are terrorists. He says that under Biden, they've arrested and released 250,000 special interest aliens. That's government speak for terrorists. And he says that's just the tip of the iceberg. He believes the real number is much higher because 80% of the border is unmanned at any given time. That means there could be hundreds of thousands of terrorists already inside the U.S., just waiting for their orders. And let's not forget about the Chinese nationals. Carrell says 210,000 Chinese nationals have crossed the border under Biden, and he's been told by military intel analysts that 120,000 of them are PLA soldiers. That's the Chinese military. Yeah, you heard that right. The Chinese military is infiltrating the U.S., and our government is letting it happen. But wait, there's more. Carrell also talks about the camps. You've probably heard the rumors about detention facilities being built across all 50 states. Well, he says it's not a rumor. He interviewed a woman named Christy Hutcherson, who's a DoD defense contractor and founder of Women Fighting for America. She told him there are bids out for over 50 detention facilities across the U.S. And guess who they're for? Not illegal aliens. No, these camps are for us, the American people. Carrell says these facilities are being built under the guise of housekeeping, but they're actually designed for crowd control, population control, and, yes, detaining dissenters. He even compares it to what happened to Japanese Americans during World War II. It's chilling stuff. Now, I know this is a lot to take in. It's heavy, it's dark, and it's hard to believe. But here's the thing. Carrell isn't just throwing out wild claims. He's backing everything up with data, firsthand experience, and interviews with people who are on the ground seeing this stuff happen. And he's not alone. FBI Director Christopher Wray has even said there are more red flags now than there were before 9/11. That's not a conspiracy theory, that's a fact. So, what's the solution? Carrell says it starts with shutting down the border immediately. He believes that if Trump gets back in office, there's a chance to turn this around. But it's going to be messy. He says we're going to have to deport millions of people, and it's going to be bloody. But he also says it's the only way to save America. He's not sugarcoating it, he's telling it like it is. And that's what makes his documentary, Treason, so important. It's not just a film, it's a wake-up call. Carrell says that after 24 years in the Border Patrol, he's rarely shocked. But every single day he's been filming this documentary, he's been shocked by what he's seen. And he says that when you watch it, you're going to feel the same way. This isn't just a story about illegal immigration. It's a story about the survival of America. So, what do we do with all of this? First, we need to wake up. We need to stop pretending that everything's okay, because it's not. Second, we need to spread the word. Share this episode. Talk about it with your friends and family. And third, we need to demand action from our leaders. This isn't a partisan issue. This is an American issue. And if we don't do something about it now, it might be too late. All right, Bright Learners, that's it for today's episode. I know this was a heavy one, but it's a conversation we need to have. If you want to learn more about JJ Carrell's documentary, Treason, head over to thisistreason.com. The film has already been released, and trust me, you're going to want to see it. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, stay curious, stay informed, and stay bright. I'm BrightLearn, and I'll see you next time.
This has been a BrightLearn.ai summary of an interview between JJ Carrell and Mike Adams on July 3, 2024. The full interview is available at brighteon.com, where you can also find podcasts and special reports by Mike Adams and other creators. Visit naturalnews.com for full editorial coverage of this interview and breaking news on critical stories that will keep you informed and aware of what's really going on.